So I'm Felix Salmon. I'm from Fusion, and this is Jonathan Bush, who is the CEO of Athenahealth. And he is a very outspoken, you want a revolution in healthcare, or so you say. You've got an amazing software as a service company for doctors, which we're going to talk about a little bit. But I want to know about this healthcare revolution which you want. And my first question is, who is going to be first against the wall when the revolution comes?
I was going to start my answer by saying that revolutions are supposed to begin very quietly, and you're saying that in a microphone in front of thousands of people on the record. So, I think the revolution or the rotation that we aspire to at Athenahealth and that I aspire to in life is to just coax the fragile little demand curve out from under the sofa where Daddy has been beating her for so long, and to come out and play again. That there's no demand curve in healthcare, and as a result, there's no innovation. Innovation comes when many buyers and many sellers come out in the carpet and have freedom to move about. And there are very, very little examples of that. The definition of healthcare is mandated by the maximum leader downtown. This is what health insurance means. You can have bronze, silver, and gold or something like that, but they're all exactly the same, but with different amounts of co-insurance. It's that Wendy's commercial, remember? Day wear, and he comes out in a suit, and he comes back, night wear, same outfit with a flashlight. So we're trying to wake that up. We think the way to do it is to connect all the players in the food chain and present the doctor in the moment of care with all the different options available electronically in kind of a game layer, and it's working.
And with prices attached.
Prices, quality, turnaround time, anything. At this point, there's so little demand curve that any decision rights at all will be sort of shockwave to the system. Just shopping for availability, shopping for the frequency with which a given choice actually follows through and does the test and gives you the result. Shopping certainly by cost. We can also do fully loaded downstream costs, right? Some cardiologists are very cheap, but they never met a guy who didn't need a stent, right? And then others are expensive, but they're actually pretty judicious. We can do all that math, but right now, at this stage of the revolution, it's just getting the disconnect, breaking down this hilarious sort of almost Monty Python disconnect between the various stations of the healthcare supply chain.
Because you say you want this, this revolution word again. You want the shopping revolution and the sort of educated...
Or just like a shopping day once.
The educated consumers who you need in the shopping revolution. These are mainly the primary care physicians. These
Fair
are the
point.
doctors.
I think you have to start with the doctor. I would love it for it to be the consumer, but all of us look at our EOBs or our health and be like, it's just white noise. Doctors barely understand. If you ask, we got 70,000 doctors on our little network, our big network. It's bigger than your network, but it's about 5 Kaisers I saw the other day, which I thought was pretty cool. But just getting those guys to be able to understand where are their mammograms. I usually send mammograms to place X. Turns out there are 4 other places. That alone is interesting new information to a lot of doctors. That there's an 80% variation in cost among those 4 places is really new information. And now, recently, the possibility that they could keep some of the savings by choosing the cheapest place and convincing you to go there, that's really exciting. And those things are just beginning right now. It's sort of nascent stage. And then, the people who end up on the wall, as you said, are the ones who don't get chosen anymore because they're too expensive and too hard to access.
So tell me, there's this thing which you don't like in
There's so many things. I've got
so many things you don't like.
In healthcare.
One of the things you don't like is called the triple aim.
Oh.
What is the triple aim?
It's where we're going to do everything for everyone, so it's all better and no one's going to do anything hard. So the triple aim says, we're going to do everything with a very narrow focus of being good for, high service for patients and high quality according to some temple that defines quality differently every year but can't measure it, and cost, right? And we can't measure that. So you have 3 almost totally unmeasurable goals that weigh equal amounts. I can't run anything with that many goals that are that hard to measure. And that to me exemplifies the lack of real mission, the lack of real actual dedication to make impact that you run into in healthcare. It's not that anyone doesn't care. The care factor, the superego ratio amongst healthcare people is very high. We get great value. They work late. They care. But the willingness to take out a villager to save the village is very low. And the triple aim to me is the quintessential icon of that.
So you have a single aim.
Yeah.
Which is?
Make doctors more money by getting rid of their shit work that they hate and suck at. It's that simple. We really don't do all the things we like to talk about. We're earning the right to make a little bit of chat about it because we've got this extraordinary 5 Kaiser-sized network. But really, all we're really doing, the job to do with Athena Health, is find piles of papers that make doctors numb and ill and say, I will do that paper for you. I'll do your billing. I'll send out all your orders and then find out what happens to them. 55% of what doctors orders, they don't know what happened. They don't actually get anything back. 55% of the time. I mean, it's like a bad sort of George Orwell comedy sketch about a bad future that's really happening.
And now they can outsource the not getting anything back to you, and then you.
Well, then we can consolidate it and, like you said, put the people who are disappearnicks up on the wall and say, hey, you don't maintain you fax your results back. You won't let us connect into your server. You know what? Who faxes in 2015? Do you know what the average number of faxes a doctor gets in 2015? Well, I know 2014. 1,154 faxes a month. A month. So they get their EMR from Obama, right? Everyone's going to have the maximum leader says 30 billion. Everyone get an EMR. They all run out and get EMRs. And all the EMRs have fax servers which receive faxes and put them in PDFs in giant piles. What? That was it? It was like when I took my son to see Big Bird on Ice, but we were in by the time he's not so big. It's that incredible letdown. And so right now, all we're really focusing on is creating a business model that's really humble in just getting this stuff to go away. The basic, you talk about quality, the basic nonfeasance and disappearance of work, starting with that will create an environment where demand curve could wake up, I think.
So talking about demand curve and villains, the big villain in the news in the past couple of weeks was Martin Shkreli and his $750 pill for toxoplasmosis. He's responding to market pressures in an incredibly rational way.
Yep.
So is he actually not such a villain? I mean,
no, he's. I mean, it's hard because you get with these orphan drugs and diseases, you get these hilarious examples that take it so far. But meanwhile, just as an example, on the other end of the spectrum, we all can trade stocks. And the cost, there's a series of kickbacks, of commissions between our little iPhone or our Fidelity fund and the various people between them and the Depository Trust Corporation that moves our certificate. And those kickbacks align electronically in about a half a second and generate about a half a cent to 1.5 cents worth of commissions. When I started Athena, that commission was $7, and the Depository Trust Corporation actually had a forklift, moving certificates around in the basement, right? But as the competition for trades improved, the automation and supply chain integration improved, and the price went away. In healthcare, if a hospital pays a doctor $5 for enrolling that patient of hers electronically in the hospital system so that they don't have to show up again and get a clipboard, as we all do, they both go to jail. That's a jail time sentence. You go to jail. It's the Stark anti-kickback law. Look it up. $5 to do a supply chain, and really probably at this stage it's probably worth $10, $15 to actually connect health information. But because of that, we still all sit with islands of isolated information. That's an example on the other end of the spectrum. I'm sorry that they've got these orphan drugs, and because everybody's guaranteed everything, you get these hilarious examples, but we do need the demand curve, and if we have to suck it up with a few $80,000 pills, I think it's worth it.
But, I mean, we can get competition, can we not, quite easily just by importing exactly the same pill from Europe or
I'm for that. Yeah, I mean, this whole idea of, no, don't look over there, that's not exactly the demand curve either,
Right. So what is the biggest barrier to achieving this lovely utopia that you paint of everyone being able to have all of the information they need at their fingertips?
Well, one thing that if you go to enough health, this is not a healthcare conference, which is why it's fun and cool, but if you go to enough healthcare conferences, you'll find that it's always about the barriers. And so just F the barriers. There's a lot of barriers. So what? There's also paths through the barriers. And what we've found is, for example, when doctors get risk contracts, they now have an incentive to see where the patients go, and they can make money if they follow them, so they're willing to invest in the connection. When retail clinics and urgent cares get venture-backed and grow up in markets, hospitals go from wanting to block access to their data to eagerly trying to connect, because guess where all the newly sick people are showing up? At urgent cares and retail clinics. So there are these little tectonic shifts that are creating light for the market all over the place in healthcare. I mean, the ACO thing, there's a new thing in the paper you read about bundled payments. It's not perfect, but it creates this opportunity where a doctor that shops for the right inputs when replacing a hip can do better than the doctor that doesn't shop. That's all happening right now. So there's a lot of barriers. Most of them are federal laws that were really well meant and made a lot of sense at the time. But the cool thing is that this internet thing is going to be big, and it's finally making its way into healthcare.
Yeah, but you know what else is big?
Plastics? No.
Yeah. $3 trillion a year of the healthcare economy.
Yeah.
And when an economy is that big, there are lots of entrenched interests. And when you come in with your revolutionary fervor, and, there's going to be a pushback. Who's pushing back the most?
It's a very fair point, and that's why I like the quiet revolution, right? You start with the isolated villagers. You don't, what was Machiavelli didn't say, take down the castle wall, your prince. He said, hey, just let's go feed the villagers and give them a printing press, right? And that's the way I think all real innovation, all market shift. They start, I'm a big Clay Christensen fan, they start at the outside, at the low end. Steve Jobs didn't get bigger than Microsoft by making a better laptop. He still loses 5-1 on laptops. Right? He found these subterranean creatures called teenagers and took the computing out of the laptop and put it in the Walkman, right? And then he was able to grow up from there. We're doing the same thing, and those are the big places that I think, those movements are the ones that will work.
Primary care physicians are the teenagers of the healthcare industry.
Isolated, nearly going out of business, literally choosing between death and dishonor, isolated doctors are, in fact, the teenagers of the healthcare revolution.
I need to ask you very quickly, finally, about us poor individual consumers.
Yes.
I personally would love to give up any semblance of privacy if I thought that would make me healthier.
Yes.
But I feel that I kind of want to make that choice.
Yes.
You're taking that choice away. It's not up to me anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone in this room, if we enter your utopia, is going to be forced to give up that privacy, whether they like it or not.
Well, you're mostly right. In truth, every patient who shows up at a AthenaNet front desk of a practice or hospital that's on AthenaNet, they do have a choice, but it's defaulted all to yes, 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 yes. And you'd have to dig in there and say, no, I want it to be no. And then you're like, okay, well, you have to pay in full because we're not going to be allowed to look at your claims when the insurance company denies it. So if you want to pay in full, you can. And we do have professional athletes and others that say, no, I'm unchecking. No one can see this. And we operate that way. We blank out their fields, and no one can see it. It's not in any of our research, but it's less than 0.5%. Less than that. It's 0.1%. And it's true. I think this is like a lot of things, is that we're going to get swept up. We're going to lose a little bit of personal power, but we're going to gain so much on the other side that it's going to be worth it.
Okay. Well, with that, Jonathan Bush, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I hope that was useful.
Good.